um we like to keep things so much to ourselves. Like you, I don't want somebody else to know what I'm going through, and that's why people end up getting depressed and all that, because you're keeping so much stuff. And you're scared to share with family members or even with your close friends.
So I just decided to use my Facebook page and make it public and tell my story. And the first time when I told it, I was so scared, and I decided just
Okay.
to post it and go to bed so I don't have to know what happened next, you know?
Do you think that happened in our African culture, or even, well, yeah, it's more African. It's not necessarily Kenyan, where if you're divorced, or even single with grown-up kids, like getting married again is almost, I don't know how it is. Maybe it's different today, but I realize that the two cultures is so different. Here is like, it's not a big deal. Even if your kids are 30 years old, you can still get married. But in Kenya, it's like once you have kids of a certain age, probably maybe after high school, maybe around there, like, there's no hope for you. There's no second marriage for you.
Yeah, my daughter was already done with high school by the time I was getting married. Yes, and that is also
Mhm.
another thing. It's so much in our culture at that time. I hope that it has changed. I know it has changed because I know of women who have gotten married
Okay.
again a second time now. So it's changing
Okay.
slowly. I was married for 10 years. I was a single mom for 8 years. And
Mhm.
then I married my husband, my current husband,
Okay.
that made me move from Kenya to America.
Okay.
And we've been married 20 years. It's going to be 21 years next month.
Okay. Okay, maybe somebody's wondering, how do you meet an American man while you are all the way in Kenya? And I'm assuming there was no Facebook or online dating back then. I think they used to have pen pal. Was it pen pal? What was that thing? They used to have something they used to put, I think, on those True Love magazines in Kenya, and you could get a pen pal outside of Kenya. Maybe that's the only thing I can think of. I mean, there was no Facebook.
That's what I thought. That's also what I thought. Although I did my course in computer studies and I was very good in computers, and I
Yes.
was sending emails because I had friends that were overseas and we were communicating a lot through email. But I never knew
Mm-hmm.
that there was anything called online dating. So,
Mm-hmm.
but a friend of mine, probably one of the students that I was teaching, is the one who introduced me to this online dating thing.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know they had online dating back then. Okay, so
Yes,
that's good. So, um, you end up meeting him,
yes,
and he convinces you to move from Kenya, or you both agreed that
yes,
it's a good idea for you to move to the US. So,
yes.
what was that move for you? What was a move like for you, arriving here for the first time?
Yeah, so we dated and we got married when I was in Kenya. So when I was moving here, I was actually moving here when we had already been married over 1 year. And within
Okay.
that time, he was coming to visit me. I had known him enough. My parents had met him. We had conversed and spent
Mm-hmm.
enough time with him. So I was
Mm-hmm.
moving here when I had already had quite an idea about what life was going to be kind of like. Because me and my
Okay.
husband, given that we started our relationship long distance, we were communicating
Mm-hmm.
a lot.
And I like what you said. You said you and your husband had already agreed that eventually you wanna go and settle back in Kenya. So you selected a field that you knew if you were to relocate from the US to Kenya, you can still get a job.
Yes. So one of the advantages in my marriage that I have with my husband is that we talk a lot. We plan and we talk and
Oh,
we discuss.
hello, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Nice to see you. How is Texas?
Texas is fine. It's nice and
Yeah.
warm.
I know, first day of spring, yeah?
Yes, yes.
Oh my gosh, I love spring. Love, love spring.
Me too.
Yeah, the flowers, trees, everything is just going to be so, so beautiful. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. And thank you so much for coming to the show today. So we're gonna start by you telling our viewers who you are, your background, just a little bit about where you come from, where you grew up, where you went to school. Tell us a little bit about your life in Kenya.
Okay, so my name is Rael Okoth Ekenrod. I was born in Kenya, Fangano Island, South Nyanza district at that time. And I started my primary school in Kericho, not in Kericho really, but in Nairobi. And then when I was in standard 3, I went to Kericho when my dad was transferred there because he was working with the Kenya prisons.
Okay.
That is where I did my standard 7 at that time. And then I went to Kipsigis Girls High School and I completed my Form 4 there.
Okay, good, good. After high school, where did you go? Did you go to college in Kenya? Or did
So
you
after high school, so we used to go to high school, and then we go to secondary school and then high school for 2 years before we go to the university. But then unfortunately, I passed well. I went to high school. I was supposed to complete my 2 years and then go to the university. But then I got pregnant, and of course, at that time you get pregnant, that's the end of your schooling. And then you go home and you kind of figure out where to pick up your life from there.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
So how long did you ever get an opportunity to work in Kenya, or did you now, after you stayed home, took care of the baby, did you just move to America?
No, so yes, I got married. After that, I got 2 children. And then when I had those 2 children back to back, I went to college and did some computer studies. First of all, I started working in Kangemi at the church there, and then I worked for Isipe in Kasarani and for 7, 8 years. And
Okay.
then I went back to St. Joseph and worked there again for another 8 years before I moved to the US. But also meantime, I went to Kenya Institute of Management and did management and administration, human resources and business administration for 2 years.
So talk to us about your relocation from Kenya to America. When did that happen, and how was that shift like? Was there any culture shock for you, and where did you go?
So this is one of the things that many people ask me, even when I came to America, like, what brought you here? Did you come to study? Did you come to do this? And no, that's not why I came to America. I came to America because I married my husband. And we got married in Kenya, but then we moved to America after further discussions because we had discussed the possibility of him coming to Kenya. And then it was difficult because we saw that it would be difficult for him to continue in the line of work that he was doing here.
Okay,
And
so there, right there. So your husband
yes,
was Kenyan. Was he American?
he's American.
Okay, all right. So he was American. That makes
Yeah, but
sense.
this one is my second husband. So my first husband, I got married immediately, after after my high school, the following year I was married. And then that marriage did not last. It lasted 10 years and I left.
Okay, so your second husband is the one who you moved to America with.
Yes. So
And
I
that's
was married the first time. To be clear, I was married the first time. I stayed in that marriage for 10 years. And then I left with my children. I had 3 children. And then I was a single mom for 8 years. I was married for 10 years. I was a single mom for 8 years. And then I married my husband, my current husband, that made me move from Kenya to America. And we've been married 20 years. It's going to be 21 years next month.
Okay, maybe somebody's wondering, how do you meet an American man while you are all the way in Kenya? And I'm assuming there was no Facebook or online dating back then.
That's what you think.
Yeah, that's what I think they used to have pen pal. Was it pen pal? What was that thing? They used to have something they used to put, I think, on those True Love magazines in Kenya, and you could get a pen people outside of Kenya. Maybe that's the only thing I can think of. I mean, there was no Facebook.
That's what I thought. That's also what I thought. Although I did my course in computer studies and I was very good in computers, and I
Yes.
was sending emails because I had friends that were overseas and we were communicating a lot through email. But I never knew that there was anything called online dating. So, but a friend of mine, probably one of the students that I was teaching, is the one who introduced me to this online dating thing.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know they had online dating back then. Okay, so
Yes,
that's good.
I knew
All right, so
about
that's
green
good.
card and people wanting to come to America through green card. I had been introduced to
Yes.
it. A friend of mine had given me the form so many times. I didn't want to come to America simply because I did not want to leave my parents. I did not,
Oh, wow.
I wasn't that much comfortable to leave my parents and go abroad. I wasn't that adventurous. So many people were coming to America. I can remember from around 1991, somebody gave me forms around 1992, but I was not one of the people that really wanted to leave my country to go and live in another country. Leave my
Okay.
family, my brothers and sisters. That wasn't something that was appealing to me. When I did put my picture there on the profile, I was wanting a pen pal. That's what I knew. I knew that you could get friends, and I had a pen pal growing up. So I knew you could have friends in other countries, and I was thinking, wow, it would be good just to communicate with somebody from another country, to be friends with them, and just to learn more about them. I wasn't so much for marriage, although it was a site where men were meeting women. I didn't mind that. I was more like, it would be nice to have that kind of a friendship,
Okay.
and maybe my idea was mainly because of friendship, and it wasn't something like I was going to be looking into it keenly or going on the site every day to see who is showing up. No, I wasn't like that.
So, you end up meeting him,
Yes,
and he convinces you to move from Kenya, or you both agreed that
yes,
it's a good idea for you to move to the US. So,
yes.
what was that move for you? What was a move like for you arriving here for the first time?
Yeah, so we dated and we got married when I was in Kenya. So when I was moving here, I was actually moving here when we had already been married over 1 year. And within
Okay.
that time, he was coming to visit me. I had known him enough. My parents had met him. We had conversed and spent enough time with him. So I was moving here when I had already had quite an idea about what life was going to be kind of like, because me and my husband, given that we started our relationship long distance, we were communicating a lot.
Okay.
We were talking every day. We were sending emails every day. We were sending the long mails with pictures and
Yes.
cards. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
communication was very good. We were literally talking every single day from the time we started communicating on the phone. So he would call me every
Okay.
day at 6 o'clock in the morning. So when I was coming here, he had tried to alleviate most of my fears, because
Okay.
going to a new country, you're afraid about your job. I was coming with my three
Yeah.
children. I was scared about them. My parents wanted me to leave them behind. I come, I see how it is, and then go back and get them. And that's something that I didn't want. And that's something my husband
How
didn't.
how old were your kids when you
My
moved
daughter,
here?
my oldest, was 18. My second born
Oh,
was 17. And my third born was 11, going
11,
12.
17, and 18. That must have been a change for them.
It was, but for me, it was a bigger culture shock than them, because these were children that were born and raised in
Yeah.
Nairobi. And
Yeah.
the big cities are almost just the same. We watch the same
Yeah.
TV, movies,
Yeah.
the culture is almost the same. So for them, it was much easier to acclimate to the American system of life and living than it was for me, who was raised And, from all my childhood, started seeing TV in my adulthood. So, but them, they were
Yeah,
born watching
yeah.
TV,
Got you,
watching
got
all the American movies and, sitcoms.
you.
Yeah.
Wow. And did you move to Texas straight, or you lived in a different state before?
No,
I know
we
you're
just
in
moved
Texas
straight
now.
to Texas. My husband had a house in
Okay.
just a very close place to where we live now, called Euless. It's just 10 minutes away to where we live currently. So we just moved straight to that house. We lived there for 16 years. And then we bought this current
Okay.
house that we have. And now we've been here for the last
Okay.
5 years. Yeah. So I
Okay.
haven't been
All right.
lived in any other state.
Okay. Got you. Got you. All right. So you move and you and the kids and you settle here.
Yes.
What do you do? Do you go back to school and advance your education, or do you just go straight to work?
So one of the things that I did when I was in Kenya, when I was single, first of all, I wanted to go back to school so bad because I had left
Okay.
school halfway. So
Yes.
once I finished my business administration and management course, I
Okay.
applied to a school in Britain, and they were sending me schoolwork to do. So I was already working on my master's in business administration. I was almost done. So
Okay.
at this particular time when I was leaving to come to the US, I was on 1 year to complete my master's in business administration that I had applied and I was doing. So coming to the US, I thought, oh,
Okay.
that's what I'm going to do. And I had 16 years work experience behind me too. So I had all these people who had written recommendations about my character and everything. And so I was carrying all these papers with my certificates, going to employers to see whether I could get a job. So my first shock was that no, they took those and looked at them and just put them, I think just put them aside. Nobody really cared to even read or know what you did. So when I came here, I had to start from scratch, like I never went to school.
Okay, so did you
I had
go
to
to
start
school then?
getting jobs minimum wage, as well as my daughters who are 18 and 17. So they started working in the, restaurants like McDonald's and Burger King. I went to work at Kroger sacking vegetables
Okay.
and groceries for
Okay.
people, yes. Just minimum wage jobs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So eventually, what did you have to do? Did you continue working, or did you go to school at some point?
So I worked there, and then I got pregnant with my son. And when I got pregnant, I continued working until almost the last day of my pregnancy. I usually have very easy pregnancies. I never have to
Okay.
leave work. So
Okay.
after that, I had to go back to work after 2 weeks, here you're given 2 weeks. And so when I got my first paycheck, because we had to take the child to a daycare,
Yeah.
there's a lady that agreed to keep the child for us. So when I got my first paycheck and I handed it all to her, I just went back home and said, how am I going to work to get a paycheck to pay somebody else to babysit my child? It doesn't make sense. And
Yeah, it
I'm
makes no
somebody
sense.
who did business,
Yeah. Yeah.
administration. So it doesn't make any sense. I could as well sit at home and take care of my child. So that's what I decided to do, is to stop working and sit at home and take care of my child. But
Okay.
then we were, of course, on the side, we were selling curios from Kenya. We were bringing things in and selling in the markets. So we
Okay.
continue to sell the curios to make ends meet. Remember,
Okay.
we have all these children at home to take care of. My daughter was already going to college. My other daughter was in 12th grade. She was going to graduate and go to college. So how do I go to college? It had been 20 years since I was in any regular college. So I just said,
Okay.
no, I can't do
Yes.
it. And then my daughter was telling me, Mom, you're
Okay.
going to be very unhappy because all your life you've worked. Just staying at home and not having to do anything, you're going to be very frustrated. And for you to get a job, you have to go back to school. So my best friend, Rose, was telling me, please go and do nursing. And I'm saying, no, no, no. Nursing is the last thing that I will do. My daughter here was telling me, go back to school. my husband was telling me that, Rael, the best thing is for you to go back to school. So finally, with all this pressure, I decided to go back to school and I decided to do nursing. So I started, first of all, I went for 6 months and did nurse aid exam so that at least I can have that a little bit of background knowledge before I started my prerequisites in nursing, yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So, and that's the field you're in today,
Yes.
nursing? Take a minute and talk to us about your nursing career. Where do you work? How do you like it now?
So my nursing career, this is what helped me. So my friend Rose, because she had been here, and she's one person who told me in 1992 to come here. She came with a green card with her, and I had said no. And then now coming here, luckily we were living very close to each other. So she was the contact that I had. And she advised me to, first of all, start with the community college so that you don't accrue so much student loans, because here university is very expensive. So that's what I did, is I went to the community college and I started with associate degree in nursing. It's a longer way to go, but if you don't have money, it's the best way to take. Yeah.
Got you. Yes, I totally understand what you mean.
Did my associate degree in nursing. I completed it. The good thing for me that I didn't realize that I appreciate now is that I'm very smart and very intelligent. So it when I went to take the exams, the entry exams, I never took them twice. When I finished my nursing degrees, I never had to sit for an exam twice. I was always doing them the first time and passing and going to the next stage. So when I finished my associate degree, I took the exams, the NCLEX exams, to become licensed as a nurse. And so I was able to do that and become an RN. And so as I was working, I went ahead to go back to school to do my RN to BSN. Because at that time they were telling me, if you don't have a bachelor's degree in nursing, most of these big hospitals will not employ you. I just stayed home for 1 semester, went and did for another 1 year. So after 4 years, for another 1 year, I did my RN to BSN and got my bachelor's degree. After that, I wanted just to take probably 1 or 2 years and go for my master's. But then my father passed away. He didn't pass away straight off, but he was diagnosed with cancer. And so I was traveling back and forth from Kenya. I was organizing his treatment from here. It was a very stressful period of time, you know, if you have a family member that is sick. So I kind of held back going back to school. So I graduated with my bachelor's degree in 2011. I got my RN license in 2009.
Oh, 2009?
Yeah, but I started going to school in 2005.
Okay.
So I started with the prerequisites, I completed, then I went for dancing school, I completed that, and then I did my RN to BSN, and then I graduated in 2011. So I had been in school from 2005 to 2011. So I took
that's a
some
long
break.
time.
I know, a long time. So I took a break after that.
Yeah.
And my dad was, like I told you, he was diagnosed. Unfortunately, he died in 2012. And so I took some times off. And then in 2014, I went back for my master's degree. And so my master's degree, I wanted to specialize because I had this idea, and this is a plan that we made with my husband, that eventually we want to go back home and settle back in Kenya. So I wanted to go and do my master's in a degree that I know I can transfer it easily and go and work in Kenya. So I did master's family nurse practitioner.
And I like what you said. You said you and your husband had already agreed that eventually you want to go and settle back in Kenya. So you selected a field that you knew if you were to relocate from the US to Kenya, you can still get a job.
Yes. So one of the advantages in my marriage that I have with my husband is that we talk a lot. We plan and we talk and we discuss. Even when I was going to school, we discussed, how are we going to do this? How are we going to manage? What about the child? and who is going to do what, how can I make it easier for you to go back to school? Okay, did you need time to study, or can we do this? So everything we plan. So we have the short-term goals, and then we had the long-term goals. So our long-term goal was, okay, we want to go back to Kenya, but of course, I will be still young enough that I don't want to go back to sit and farm, but I want to continue with my career. So that was, so we had to really strategize so that I do something that I know I love, and also something that I know I can transfer easily and do it when I go back home.
Okay.
Yes.
Smart idea. That's a smart move. You're a nurse in Texas, but the reason I have you today is because I also know that you're a coach. You coach and work with women. Talk to us about your coaching program, how it was all started, what it entails, and all that good stuff.
Yes, so my coaching program, I've always been an entrepreneur. Always. My mom introduced me to it, but I know very well, even when I was growing up, even when I was in Form 4, Form 3, Form 4, I actually did business and commerce because I really wanted to go that route. When women wanted to be secretaries and to do nursing, I wanted to go into business. So I've always been an entrepreneur. I always have side businesses that I'm doing at any time, whether I'm employed or not employed. So at this time, I had a business that I wanted to maybe publicize, either in Facebook or just using this social media that we have. And so I stumbled upon this lady that I really liked. I was following her and I was reading everything she was putting down. And so I decided to join one of her coaching classes. And it was during those classes that when we were introducing ourselves and talking about ourselves that I was pushed to make public my life so that I can help other women. And this was very difficult for me because I did want to put my life out there in public, my background and all that. But it was a push because we were several ladies, about almost 30 of us, or just a little bit less. But also we were partnered. You were being partnered with somebody else. And so this push was there. Please talk about this, make it public. And I said, that's not why I'm here. But they say, no, but this is where God is leading you. And after some point, I gave in. And so I put my life out there. And I said that I want to help women who are having difficulty starting over, especially after the end of their first marriage or their first relationship. Because they were asking me, how did you manage? How did you manage? You were single for 8 years and then you got married again. How did that happen? And say it wasn't something that I designed. It wasn't even something that I knew it was possible given my background and my culture. It was very difficult for you to marry again. And so growing up, my mindset was, I'm done with marriage. That is a closed chapter. I'll take care of my children. I'll get us somewhere to stay and I'll retire peacefully, So my marriage was nowhere in my radar. But the fact that I got married and then a second time to someone that we really have a good, beautiful relationship with. So, but also just to get over the stigma, to get over the fear of giving yourself a second chance in life, because that's where women are so stuck. First of all, you consider yourself a failure for having failed the first marriage. Everybody tells you you are a failure anyway. You don't even have to tell yourself. And then having children and older children and seeking to be married again, that was also another thing. Because even men, they're afraid to come to you to ask you to marry, for your hand in marriage.
Do you think that happened in our African culture, or even, it's more African. It's not necessarily Kenyan, where if you're divorced or even single with grown-up kids, like getting married again is almost, I don't know how it is, maybe it's different today, but I realized that the two cultures is so different. Here is like, it's not a big deal. Even if your kids are 30 years old, you can still get married. But in Kenya, it's like once you have kids of a certain age, probably maybe after high school, maybe around there, like, there's no hope for you. There's no second marriage for you.
Yeah, my daughter was already done with high school by the time I was getting married. Yes, and that is also another thing. It's so much in our culture that time. I hope that it has changed. I know it has changed because I know of women who have gotten married again a second time now. So it's changing slowly. It's not a big deal here in the US. You can get married if you have grandchildren. Nobody takes that. Nobody cares. Nobody thinks twice about it, you know. So, but at that time in 2002, yes, marriage was something that after you have the end of one marriage, you know, it was like, it doesn't matter how young you are. I was 28 when I left, you know, when my marriage ended. But the fact that I had the 3 children and the fact that my children, you know, they were growing up, they were always saying, okay, so who is going to get married? Is it you or your children? Yeah, so, and it was just a joke and people cracking jokes like that.
So you're in this coaching program and you push yourself and you tell your story and you share about how you are able to move on as a single mother after your first marriage, take care of your kids, and now they were grown, like you mentioned. Your daughter was 18 or so when you got married. So how did you decide to start this program?
So I just decided to use my Facebook page and make it public and tell my story. And the first time when I told it, I was so scared and I decided just to post it and go to bed so I don't have to know what happened next, you know. And I was waking up in the morning to go to work anyway. But I got such a huge response from people here in the US and also back home, from the people that I lived with from high school. I don't even know how they saw that, you know, I didn't even think people read Facebook that much. Yes, but I got a huge response. Yes. And a lot of DMs. Yes, a lot of DMs. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is the response the reason now you decided, maybe based on the conversations that were going on Facebook, that maybe I should put together a program where I'm going to start working with women?
Yes, because when I posted that first post, I already had around maybe 30 posts that I had been working on. I love to write, so I write a lot. So by the time I was making my my information public, I had already designed more than 30 posts that that were ready for me, just to contents that I was ready to post anytime. I was just picking in the morning and then posting them. Yes.
Okay, so this was just Facebook, not like blogging or anything, just Facebook.
No, just Facebook. Yeah, no blogging, nothing like that. Yes, yeah. And then so I designed a program and I started coaching. So immediately I had people who are ready to work with me. So I started with my first, I think, group of 3 women, and they were ready to work with me, and I started coaching them. And since that time, I've been coaching until now. And my first coaching, I think, was in October of 2022.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Tell us, what's the program like? Is it virtual? Can women from anywhere in the world, Kenya, here, UK, can they all join, or is it just US based?
No, it's from anywhere in the world, from Australia, from Kenya, from the US, from people who are in Qatar. Yeah, anyone can join that program. So at first I used to have 12-week programs, but now I have made them 10 weeks. On some occasions, we go up to 12 weeks. Because for coaching to be effective, first of all, you have to understand what coaching is, and then how it might take, because you are working towards something and you are trying to achieve something by the end of it. So just
Yeah.
like habits are very hard to break and you need to do something over and over, by the time
Yeah.
we are done with the coaching, I haven't seen any woman who has not told me that, oh my God, I can't even believe I'm the same person that started with you 10 weeks ago. And usually
Wow.
they're saying that within 5 weeks is they cannot believe it.
Mhm.
And all the women
Okay.
that I've started with, we have completed the program, and they are always telling me that I'm always looking forward to Sunday. It can't reach fast enough because we leave the topic and then we pick it up from wherever we left the following week.
Okay.
So I do a
Okay.
one-on-one coaching, and also I do group coaching.
Okay. So
Yeah.
talk to us about those two different type of coaching. One-on-one, I'm assuming, is just the private where you just take one person and
Yes.
you work with them individually, and of course, group coaching is group coaching. So
Yes.
with the one-on-one, I'm assuming you, of course, you can just find a time when you can meet with your client. But with the group coaching, are they all done at the same time on Sunday? So I'm only asking this because if you have somebody in Kenya that would like to join your program and we have the time difference, talk to us about so they are clear, when are these classes done? Are they recorded in case somebody misses a class? How is that done?
So we don't record it for the simple reason
Okay.
that the topics that I'm talking about is very sensitive.
Okay.
And with coaching, you might decide this is what we are going to talk about. And then in the course of the conversation, it veers to so many other things. So we
Okay.
are talking about, sometimes we are talking about women being stuck, and we've been talking about the relationship they had, or maybe one that they have currently, or they are talking about issues that they have never made public to anyone.
Yeah.
You don't
Okay.
ever want to record those. So
Yes.
I always just have a notebook and I take some few notes that I think are very important, because most of the time they don't even realize that they say these things until I bring it up and say, hey, remember when you said this, this, and that. And also at the end of that session, we always go back and see what we have talked about,
Okay.
for
Okay.
that session. So for that reason, I take small little notes, and those notes I usually destroy them after some time.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Got
I
it.
don't record any of the
Okay. And that is even with the group coaching. Yeah.
even with the group coaching, I don't. And then with the group coaching, I make sure that the people that are in that group are going through the same kind of problem and they're looking for the
Okay.
same kind of solution, sort of.
Solutions. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes
So
sense.
if
That
there
makes
are women who are already divorced and they are seeking maybe a relationship, or they're sick, they don't know how to start, or maybe they're just having some other difficult issues, I will, because I do a consultation before we begin. So through
Yeah.
that consultation, I know if I can put them with somebody. But then there's several times that somebody has told me her story, and there is no way I can put her with anyone else, because it
So you
is
have
so private. And
Mhm.
then it is so maybe still very fresh, or maybe something is happening there that you would not, even her, she would not want to discuss it with any other person. When they're in a group, they are going to share these stories with one another. But there are
Yes.
women who don't want that. Or there are some people who just don't say, I'm not comfortable discussing this with anybody else. Just maybe maybe a therapist or a coach. Then I will
Okay.
have one-on-one. If they are based here
Okay.
in the US, any day of the week, because we have the same time difference. So
Yeah.
I've had people
Okay.
on a Friday here in the US, or on a Tuesday. But if they are based like other places, I usually have them on Sundays,
Okay.
because of the
Makes
time
sense.
difference. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Um, do you have like a website, or how can people find the information about your program? How would they get more details?
Okay. If someone is interested in my services, they can get in touch with me through my website, getstartingover.com. You can also find my email there, which is just my first name, last name @gmail.com. So that you can get in touch with me that way. You can get in touch with me through Facebook Messenger. Just DM me a message and I will get back to you. And usually, like I was saying, if it is a group program, it's on Sundays usually. But if it's at one-on-one, we can discuss with you whichever time that is good for you and when I'm available, because I don't work throughout. There are some days of the week that I don't work. Yes.
Okay, got you. So what we're gonna do is you're gonna give me your website. We are going to put the website at the bottom of this video in the description box, and her email, so that if you are interested in joining her program, and I'm assuming you also work with not just people who have divorced and are trying to start over, would somebody who is in a relationship or just broke up from a relationship, not necessarily marriage, I'm assuming they're also welcome to the program?
They're also welcome to the program. You know, as a life coach, and I'm a certified life coach, I went back to school. I got my certification in being a life coach. I'm still going back to school. I'm going to get certified as a nurse coach also. But as a life coach, I can coach you in just about anything that you want. So I have coached women who are still married and they are having maybe some bumps in their relationships. I have coached them even to appreciate their relationships more and stay in their marriages. I have coached women who have just left their relationship, some who left their relationship 26 years ago, and they're still stuck. They cannot move. So I've coached people on any spectrum on the relationship side, yes.
Awesome. And you guys had it. All these coaching programs are done virtually, one-on-one or group coaching. And of course, once they consult with you, then that's when you decide whether they should be in a group coaching or one-on-one setup, yeah?
Yes, and the group coaching usually they happen in January, May, and August.
Okay, January, May,
and next one is starting May 5th, and it's going to go for 10 weeks, yes.
Okay, awesome. So they have enough time before May to get in touch with you and get registered for the classes.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, so the information on how to get started or how to connect with Rael will be pinned at the bottom of this video in the description box. And Rael, I know you've given us good information. Is there anything, especially about your coaching program, that you like to add before we conclude?
Yes, so coaching as a whole really puts your life into perspective and your priorities, and it brings clarity to so many things that are happening in your life that you don't understand.
Yes.
So you start living with intentionality, you start planning, and you start taking steps that you know are going to help you. So it doesn't just help you probably in the relationship aspect, but just in your life as a whole. So ever since I started being coach myself and going for these coaching classes, my own life has really changed so much to be better than it is. Because everything that I'm doing, I'm actually planning and giving it some thought. My relationship with my husband has improved. It was good, but it has even improved more because of the coaching. Because now you are not just living and things are not just happening around you. You are in control of everything. So
Awesome. So they get to know the importance of doing that, because you know our culture where we come from, we never grew up of like, okay, you have going through something in your marriage, your relationship, you need to get a coach. That was like, no, you just need to deal with it.
Need to deal with it. And it was trial and error, a lot of trial and error.
Yes.
Yeah. So coaching actually takes you to your destination faster than the trial and error.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with you. And I'm super excited that, Rael, you're doing this and you're bringing the community along and teaching them and coaching them and telling them, hey, there's something else, that there's another option. You know, don't deal with this by yourself. You can work with them, because also we like to keep things so much to ourselves, like I don't want somebody else to know what I'm going through, and that's why people end up getting depressed and all that, because you're keeping so much stuff, and you're scared to share with family members or even with your close friends. So here's somebody like Rael. She's a certified coach. You can be sure the information you share with her is going to stay private, because that's the nature of the profession. So reach out to her, reach out to Rael, and share with her what's going on, and between the two of you, you'll figure out what's the best program for you, whether you need to be in a group setting or personal, private one-on-one with her. That's the most important thing for people to understand what it is you do, and also why, because we come from a culture that coaching, counseling, all this stuff is like foreign to us. That's why sometimes we die of stress, because we keep all this stuff to ourselves.
And now, one of the things that we don't realize is that most people who make it, even those people, let's say even whether they're athletes or they're people, actors or actresses or what, the reason why they are succeeding, why they are not making so many mistakes like their predecessors, is because they have coaches that are working with them, that are making sure they don't stumble, that are making sure they use their money well, that are making sure that they don't fall into, the pitfalls that, or drugs and addiction. It's because those people who can make it are doing that. The rest of us, it's just pain and suffering and regrets, and you have nobody to talk to. Whether it's here or in Kenya, people have become so busy that they don't want to share their businesses. And when you try to talk to someone, it's like you're wasting their time. So you just kind of, I would rather just sit by myself. We don't talk about it. We were never to talk about it, yes.
I absolutely agree. And I'm very, very happy that there's a program like what you have put together where women can reach out and connect with you. So thank you so very much for gracing my show. And I look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
You have a wonderful evening.
You too.
All right, take care.